is the editorial page editor for the Detroit News, a position he's held since May 1st of 2000. He directs the expression of the newspaper's editorial position on various national and local issues, and also writes a column for the Sunday newspaper. Prior to that, Finley was the newspaper's deputy managing editor, directing the newsroom. Finley has been in the newspaper business with the newspaper since 1976, starting as a copy boy in the newsroom while student at Wayne State. He's a graduate of both Schoolcraft College in Livonia and Wayne State, where he earned a bachelor's degree in journalism. In 2001, Schoolcraft named him its outstanding alumnus. Previously, he served as a business editor and in various editing positions on the city, state, and metro desks. He was also a reporter covering Detroit City Hall during the Coleman Young administration. Mr. Finley is a principled editor and has been a strong supporter of the Tea Party movement. We are hoping that Mr. Finley will give us his take on the political landscape in the upcoming elections and how we might be able to influence the outcome of the elections through grassroots activism. At this time, I'd like to introduce Mr. Nolan Finley.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's good to be back with you. Thank you for the invitation. I have to start with an apology. I usually like to begin my talks with a funny story, a joke, what have you. So I was talking to Brooks Patterson this afternoon. I said, Brooks, I'm speaking to Macomb County Tea Party group tonight. I need a joke. And Brooks told me the funniest joke I've ever heard. And I said, that'll work, Brooks. I'll grab it up and go. It was even appropriate for a mixed audience, which is rare for Brooks, but and darned if I haven't forgotten the punchline. So I'm just going to have to maybe save it for the next time around and just go into it. I think I was here last at Christmas time for your Christmas event, for your holiday banquet, what have you. And so I'd like to start with a couple of questions for you. Are you as angry today as you were back in December? Yes. Are you as upset with the direction your country has taken over these past 8 months? Are you as determined to change things in November as you were last December? I'm sorry, they can't hear me. I'm going to move to the mic. It's good, because I'll tell you, I have been a little worried about that the movement might have crested too early. I believe if the election had been held in May, the election we're coming toward in November had been held in May, we'd have swept Washington clean. And I worry that I worry a little that we've had to sustain that anger, that commitment to change for too long, and that people might be starting to give up, might be starting to get worn down. So I hope you all are still as determined as you were at the beginning of this thing, because it has been truly an amazing movement. And you've seen something I have never seen in this country before, and that's the people rising up to take back control of their government. And I think, although we haven't been able to change a whole lot yet, they are starting to notice, and it is starting to influence many of the decisions in Washington. We know at least 9 incumbent congressmen didn't run for re-election because they were fearful of facing voters like yourself. Unfortunately, Washington still doesn't hear us as well as we'd hoped they would when we started this shouting. Despite the warning shots, Washington still does the dissatisfaction and dismay that the American people are expressing. Barack Obama has been touring the country all summer, and Joe Biden has been touring the country all summer, other members of the administration, trying to tell us that things are much better than we know they are. Who would know better about the conditions of America than we would? And yet the president was in this county 2 weeks ago, was in Detroit and in Macomb County 2 weeks ago, telling us that we're on our way. Things are getting better. The economy is recovering. What he's done is working. How many of you all feel that way? Oh, yeah. You feel like things are better, things are headed in the right direction? And yet they have so little respect for us. They think they can spin this mess into good news. They have so little respect for the intelligence of the American people, for the American voter, that they think they can tell us what we know not to be true. They continue to try to fool us, to lie to us, to try to spin us. Things are not getting better. At least they're not getting better fast enough. We're still in a heap of trouble in this country, and we're still making the same mistakes over and over again. They're still not hearing us. They're still not hearing us. When you all started showing up at their town hall meetings last fall and into the winter and taking over their town hall meetings and expressing your frustration, your anger, trying to get them to listen, they still didn't accept that the American people aren't happy. They went back to Washington and passed a big health care bill. They kept their spending up. When the people of Massachusetts replaced the most liberal congressman in the, or the most liberal senator in the Senate, Ted Kennedy, with Scott Brown, with the help of voters like you,
Some in this room.
Greg, with your help, they still didn't believe it. They made excuses. They said, well, we had a bad Democratic candidate, as if it were impossible for a bad Democratic candidate to win in Massachusetts. They win every election in Massachusetts. They still didn't listen. They still didn't think this was real. Chris Christie, elected in New Jersey, Democratic state. Solid conservative who's doing what he said he was going to do. Voters went to the polls and elected him. They still didn't accept that the people want change. They still wouldn't listen. They went ahead and passed health care against the will of the people. They went ahead and passed a stimulus bill that has failed miserably. Nearly $1 trillion. $1 trillion that will not be paid off for generations. They passed that even while you were begging, even while you were begging them not to do it, even while you were warning them not to do it, even while you all and millions of Americans like you were saying, don't do this to us. They went ahead and did it, and they are still doing it. Just this week, another nearly $30 billion to keep teachers and public employees happy. A bailout bill for teachers and the public employee unions, nothing but that, to keep Michigan and California, New York, other irresponsible states from having to do the hard things to reform their spending and balance their budgets. A bailout for teachers, a bailout for public employee unions, because that's who they care about. They don't care about you, they don't respect you, they don't think you matter. If they did, they wouldn't have passed that bill this week. They'd have been scared to death too. And that's why I'm so concerned that this movement and the whole growing dissatisfaction of the American people continues to surge for another 2 months until we get to Election Day and can make them hear us, because that's the only way they're going to hear us, is when we sweep them all out of the Capitol. This administration continues to pass anti-business, anti-growth, anti-job policies. It continues to raise taxes. The teacher bailout bill contained $10 billion in new taxes on business. The money that should have gone into creating jobs, creating investment in this economy, is now going into the federal government's coffers, where it will be used to expand the size and reach and power of government. Government is the only growing sector in this country right now. The only sector showing real growth is government. I read a piece this week that said the three most prosperous metro areas in this country were all centers of government, including Washington, D.C. The only workers in this country with household incomes that are rising, federal government workers. The rest of us are seeing our salaries decline, our taxes go up. We are paying to support the government elite and the people who keep them in office.